Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the hashtag TFR
Motivation
Monday Zoom. We are Dr. Dondi and Marcy
Hi,
Nettles.
guys.
We are your co-hosts tonight, and we have some amazing information and a very special guest hanging out. We're just waiting to unload on you guys, and we're going to be talking again and extending the series on the core skills necessary to succeed in your LifeVantage business. And we are now going to be talking about the follow-up, and what we've talked about how we handle concerns, and you're going to hear a whole new twist on handling concerns and objections. But before we get to that, and before we bring on our special guest, Marcy, tell them about this TFR, this amazing Team Freedom Reigns YouTube channel we have.
Well, there you go. We have a Team Freedom Reigns YouTube channel, guys. You need to go and find it on YouTube, subscribe, ring the bell, ask for notifications, because every week when we do our team calls, we do record them and then we upload them there immediately afterwards. So if you're not able to join us live, you can join us and listen in and get the nuggets that you need to be professionals and to be able to run your LifeVantage business the way that you want to for success. So Team Freedom Reigns on YouTube. Go and do that after the call tonight. So we want to hop right into the meat and potatoes of this call, because this is why you're all here tonight. If you need the announcements, please make sure that you go to Team Freedom Reigns YouTube channel and, or not the YouTube channel, the Facebook page, and check out all of the announcements. They were put up today, and we want to get right into the call. Go ahead. You've got.
So can I introduce our guest?
Please.
All right, guys. So when you have a CV or you have a resume that is as loaded as we have with our special guest tonight, Dr. Gloria Waterhouse, we have to kind of condense it. And even when you condense it, it's 3 full paragraphs. That's how amazing this lady is. And let me just give you some of the bullet. Yeah, she is world class. Let's just put it that way. Let me share some of the bullet points of Dr. Gloria Waterhouse. She is an elite Pro 7. She has a long-term vision to assist others in finding their best lives. Her 40-plus year career began as a psychologist at Vanderbilt University, where she received her PhD. She went on to teach and do research at Vanderbilt Medical School on the topics of healthy relationships and ways to affect positive change. Midway in her career, she was inspired to leave this traditional setting and move to the West to learn and practice integrative healing techniques. Well, 9 years ago, a friend introduced her to LifeVantage and the power of nutrigenomics. Not knowing anything about the field of network marketing, she was not interested in this as a business model, but wanted everyone she knew and loved to be introduced to this foundational technology. It was not until several years later that she fully understood and became committed to this amazing culture and beautiful way of life. Today, she and her daughter Jennings are partners, elite Pro 7 partners in LifeVantage, and work their business from their home in the remote inland Northwest Sandpoint, Idaho, close to the British Columbia border. They love the mountains, lakes, and rivers that surround them and all of the activities that accompany the outdoors. LifeVantage has given them the best life to live with their family, and she is about to give you the best way to look at objections in listening through objections. Marcy's touching my leg. She wants to add on to that.
I do. Marcy. So Dondi and I have been so blessed to be part of Vision Summit, and part of the leadership with us is Dr. Gloria and Jennings Waterhouse. And so we have had the pleasure of getting to know both of these ladies just at a deeper level, and the respect that we have for both of them is just, I can't even explain or describe it, because it's that big. But Dr. Gloria has just got this huge heart, and she's got a massive story, and I'm hoping that she'll share a little bit of her story with you. But she is one of the gems that you can really get to know when you participate with us in Vision Summit. But we're bringing a little bit of her here to you guys tonight. So Dr. Gloria, will you please join us for this call?
Hi, everybody.
Hey.
Hi. Oh, my goodness. I am so honored to be with all of you. And I've just been looking forward to meeting some new people. And I see some old friends on here. And I just want to say, I feel so blessed and so honored to be like family with your amazing leaders, Dr. Dondi and Marcy. We have linked arms and just become fast friends on this mission that we all share to bring nutrigenomics and better health and a better way of life to everyone. I guess, thank you for that introduction. And, you know, it is kind of long because I've had this really long career. And it started out with this pressing desire to find out what are the foundations of happiness and health and a good life. Because I started out in a place where my family did not have a good life. And so I became obsessed and I became a little bit of a nerd. And so I read and I prayed and I thought, I'm going to do this. I'm going to find a better way. I know I can find an answer. So it occurred to me, what better answer than becoming a psychologist? Because psychologists know about people being happy, but spoiler alert, most psychologists have entered this profession because they want to heal themselves and they want to find out the answers. And that was my story. So I wound up teaching at Vanderbilt Medical School, and I've always had a huge private practice because I love hearing people's stories and meeting people and transforming their lives. So I kind of had to pinch myself and I go, what in the world am I doing lecturing all over the world about these topics and being a researcher? It did not make sense at all because I'm a people person. And I looked around the traditional, amazing institution I was teaching at, and I became discouraged. I became discouraged because all of my colleagues were aging really, really quickly. And the bureaucracy, they wanted so much to help people and people just weren't getting better. So I did something that looked crazy to everybody else in my life, but I was very sure of it. I moved out west because I wanted to learn the foundations of how people get healthy, not how you treat sick people for certain symptoms, but how do people get fundamentally well? And, you know, and we know that it's body, mind, spirit. And that if you're physically well, then your body and or your spirit and your mind come along with you. Just opens everything up. So tonight we're going to talk about a topic that I'm excited about. And let's hope I can pull up my PowerPoint here. Okay, we've got that. Let me hide you folks so I can get this. There you go. Can you see this? This is a topic that I was inspired to really address because let's face it, and you guys can put it in the chat. What are the two things that hold us back when we are getting ready to present? I would guess, number one, they're making the invite. And number two, it's kind of trembling over what kinds of objections might people throw up in front of us. Nobody wants to hear objections. And if you're like me, you can make a long list of objections that somebody's likely to put out there, even before they do anything. So if this is fear of rejection, yeah, we're all afraid of rejection. No matter how calm, no matter how many degrees you have, we want to be loved. And so I'm blessed that I have a good friend who's a legend in the network marketing industry, Richard Bliss Brooks, and he is an authentic networker. And what he says is that let's look at network marketing and listening to objections as if we're open. This is the place, guys, where we get to show what we're made of. Instead of listening through objections or overcoming objections, we're going to listen through them. The Tai Chi approach. We're going to embrace the other person's energy And that is your main task. We know that people are going to bring objections, but objections are primarily fear-based. We honor people's objections and we want to hear them through. But I'm here to say that they're rarely the absolute truth. They are the line of defense. People bring these objections to our meeting because they want to let us know that you're going to be offering something to them, and they're not exactly sure what it's going to be. And so we're going to listen because we're not afraid. We're holding their hands, we're embracing the objections, and we're going to fall in love with them because this gives us a chance to show who we are. We get paid for addressing objections. And if an objection creates tension within you or anger or frustration, people just close down. When people bring their objections, if you just become more relaxed, warmer, calmer as you hear them, people warm up to you. They're going, oh, this isn't what I expected. What we do is we figure out when we hear the objection, exactly what does this person mean by the objection? We say things like, oh, I understand, but how much time do you really imagine it will take? We hear them out. It's a pyramid. We always have to hear what people think of pyramids because sometimes, and most often, they really don't know what they're talking about. I can't sell. What do you mean by selling? And then we embellish the objection. We show them that we're not afraid no matter how big it is. So we help them state their objection even more clearly and passionately. We just let them tell us the story. We seek to understand, and then we give them feedback that shows them that we understand. Oh my gosh, that must be really, really scary. I remember my own family. Now, I was born in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and so I have lots of tales to tell about network marketing. I remember that people were segmented. They were fragmented in my family. The people who were in network marketing in Amway were in one table. The rest of us were in the other talking about them. So I bring that up and I laugh and I tell stories. And we must realize that under every single spoken objection is a fear or concern. Listen and feel for their fear and concern. When you're talking with people, you can almost see a plexiglass window that they have erected in between you and them. And during the time that you show them that you're not afraid, that you embrace their objections, that objections are natural, fears are natural. And you can see that kind of little plexiglass window just going down. And the way you can tell it, and this is very, very important, and maybe the most important part, is that you wait for the shift and you will see people take a breath and relax. They may laugh, they physically move. You can just see that they're lightening up. They're no longer afraid that they are going to be overwhelmed, overcome, battled. This is not a battle. This is an embracing. When you see that, and I would suggest that you wait till you see that breath come, that relaxation, that laugh, then we can begin our conversation. I think when we're starting out, we get so intent upon proving our point. Oh my goodness, well, I remember all of the patents. Let's see, what year did we go public? All of those things, you don't have to get any of that right. All you have to do is listen. If they come up with something that you don't know, so much the better. Because you always can say, I'm not quite sure of that, but I know I can go to Dr. Dondi and Marcy. They'll know it. Or someone else on your team. Linda Grace, someone. It's always great not to know things. When you've seen the shift happen, you ask permission to address their concerns. Really important that you remember their concerns pretty precisely in their own words. If you could prove to yourself how you could succeed in our business and avoid that concern, fear, or circumstance, would you take a brief look? Now you can come up with your own verbiage. It doesn't have to be that complex. But if you could, would you take a look? And you'll find most of the time people say, oh, sure, I will. Of course I will. And then you address the concern. You address it with candor. We're always authentic. We don't have to be an encyclopedia. We don't have to be a medical professional. We do not have to know all the facts. But we have enough knowledge and enough belief to address their concerns. If you've only been with us for a short period of time, you can borrow other people's success stories and materials. You always keep your promise. If you are going to address someone's concern and make a promise, then you must keep your promise, because these people are increasing their trust. They're forming an opinion. They're coming closer as they see that they can trust us. And we've all got great uplines. And even if we don't, even if your upline lives in Singapore, you have a family of people in LifeVantage who are always happy to reach out and validate. But whatever you do, people want to see that you're leading with integrity. And so I propose that in LifeVantage, we are an iconic company. We do things in a way that we can be proud of. So we're always sharing with integrity, and we're listening, and we care. And however long it takes for us to win the trust of the people we're talking to, we've got that time, because we aren't going to give up on them. We're going to follow up. We're going to follow up, and statistics show that following up, my goodness, sometimes it's 7 or 8 times before we get to the place where people have really resolved their concerns and their fears. So do not, and I'm going to put down my PowerPoint here. Never ever get daunted when people need more time. Never ever just don't go back. We've always got to go back when we say we're going to go back, right? Now I'm going to open this up, if it's okay with you guys, and let's just ask a few questions. Let's talk about what might be some concerns, or what you didn't understand about this approach, or ways that you found things. Feel free to put it in the chat, or you can unmute yourselves.
Dr. Gloria, I wanted to mention something. When I first heard you present this in this fashion on listening through objections, I'd never heard the approach before. When you were talking about taking somebody's objection, embrace it, embellish it, and then purge it, the way you talked about one of your colleagues, I think when you were talking to this tenured professor with this incredible academic background, and of course you said something similar. I'm going to paraphrase, but I'd like you to kind of fill in the blanks. And you said, of course, somebody with your academic background, you would never want anybody to think you're selling snake oil out of your classroom. Waiting for that, acknowledging what they're saying, but wait until they realize the magnitude of what this information is and how much additional respect they'll have for you once they realize that you're teaching them something they've never heard before that's so profound, or something to that effect. And I was just
exactly
captivated by how you did that. It was so beautiful.
Oh, well, thank you for bringing that up, because you think we have a lot of anxiety, most of us, when we're talking to somebody who's maybe on our chicken list. And this particular incident occurred when somebody asked me to be a third party for a very distinguished professor. Actually, he was at the tenured professor at the University of Utah. And he came in and he introduced himself and he said, yes, I have 72 peer-reviewed publications in my career. Yes. And he sat like this with his arms folded. And I thought, how do I get him to unfold his arms? And I thought, we have to let him know that we know how important he is. We see that that's a really kind of risky thing for somebody like that to jump in and be able to believe in an industry that they've been taught is not acceptable for a tenured professor at a university. So I sat and I listened and I listened and I listened and I asked him about his areas of research and I asked him about his practice. And I honored him for what he had accomplished. And I sat there and watched until the arms kind of unfolded and he kind of moved himself forward in the chair. And then when I said, just as Dr. Dondi said, this is something that a person of your credibility and experience and wisdom has to know about from the bottom up. You really need to know about this before you would feel comfortable talking to your colleagues. What kind of information might be helpful to you? I can just imagine what kind of things that your colleagues would say to you in the hallways or the break rooms or whatever, if you brought this up and you weren't armed with all the information you needed. And then he laughed because, no, there's no way I could do that. And I knew then, because I'd been patient, that then we could start our dialogue. Whether it's providing more information, whether it's talking about, let's put you together with Dr. Dondi. Dr. Dondi Nettles is a premier expert on this. I think you two would have a great discussion. Let's see if he's out in the hallway here. But that's what you do when you run up against those people with their arms folded that have so many credentials that they're not going to part with them. Right. But we want to be honoring of them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think back that if I wasn't open-minded at the moment, Taylor Worry asked me about a year ago when he was interviewing Marcy and I, said, what if you never would have heard of LifeVantage, or what if nobody would have shared this with you? And I literally shuddered at the thought, because my life would be so drastically different. I'd probably have children that don't even have a dad, and I'd be an absentee dad and absentee everything because I was so consumed by my practice. And I'm so blessed and grateful that someone did share LifeVantage with me, and it was probably on their chicken list. In fact, it was Blue Elam who heard me on the radio and said, you were definitely on my chicken list. But I'm glad he did reach out. But of course, everyone has those concerns and objections, and just listening through them, and that Tai Chi step by step, the way you just laid out, was just absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much, Dr. Gloria.
Thank you, guys. And I was the worst person. I was invited by a friend who had a spectacular career in network marketing. And she would tell me about her cars, her way of life, her trip, all the times she was to spend with her children. And I was one of those aloof people with my arms like this. And I would say, but Cynthia, it's network marketing. She kept on year after year after year. And now I am so grateful to her, because can we find a better way of life? We know what other people don't know. Mm-hmm. So yes, thank you so much for that. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Love to hear any comments.
Yeah, anybody that has any questions or comments, whether you're on live on Facebook. Hello. Hey, Micah.
Hey, I do. So first off, thanks for the great presentation. I always love hearing you speak. Well, all of you all. But so my question is, what about the ones of us that don't have the credentials that you have or Dondi has? And, you know, so it's a lot more challenging because people don't really take us as serious because, you know, we don't have this great big resume that shows that we have devoted our lives into health and wellness. You know, my resume is very short, if I even do have one. And I'm, you know, definitely just one of those ones that's getting started, but I am very passionate about this. I believe in this. And fortunately, I did have Dondi and Marcy as my upline, and I knew Marcy and had known Marcy for a while. And so I did take them serious, but how do I get people to take me serious?
I think that's such a good question, Micah. And, you know, we think about those things. We think about, well, I don't have, I'm not an MD, so how can I talk to an MD? And really, I think that people are looking at your authenticity. You don't have to know everything about all of those peer-reviewed articles, but you can know that this might be something super valuable that over 3,000 medical professionals are pursuing as either a part or full-time career. And that you're blessed to have somebody in your upline who's really one of the best. I mean, I love to hear Dr. Dondi speak, and just you open the door for them. You open the door, and I love the questions. Doctor, would it be a good idea if I were to reduce my levels of oxidative stress? And then they're all going to jump on and say, oh, yes, Micah, that is really important. And then you say, Doctor, what do you think about NRF2 technology? Or have you studied the science of, or just assume that they know about these things? What do you think about nutrigenomics? Then they're usually kind of deadpan. So you don't try to convince them, you ask them questions. And I think that that's a really good lead in if you're talking to your personal healthcare professional or someone else. Ask the questions. And when you get down to the NRF2, the NRF1, the NAD, you know, don't grill them, but just like you're interested, of course they know about this. Of course they would be interested. And then you say, I'd love for you to talk to one of my colleagues.
Yes.
How's that sound?
Perfect. No, that sounds good. Okay, great. Great explanation. Thank you for answering
And
that.
never, ever, ever be intimidated by not having credentials. Just realize, and I guess that's one of the big points of this presentation. I don't care who you're talking to, they have fears. No matter whether they look like it or not, it is the fear that is behind the objection. So don't take the front line objection. Use the process of asking questions, embracing their objections, and then when they trust you, you can open the dialogue.
Great. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
That was awesome.
Seriously.
And you know, the thing is that the person that introduced Dondi to this wasn't a medical professional. He was a firefighter, right? And how about you, Dr. Gloria? Was it a doctor that introduced you to this opportunity?
No, it was a good friend who talked to me about her fabulous life in network marketing. And here is someone, I have got egg on my face. I am someone that had looked my entire life for a better way of being. And this is the best I've found. As much as I love my 40 years psychotherapy practice, teaching, this gives me things that I never knew. This gives us all those things. So it was a good friend who knew nothing. And you know what she asked me? This is another good answer, Micah. I'm glad you brought this up, Marcy. She said, I know you have a big research background. Would you look at the research behind this all natural technology? I'm thinking of joining the company. I just rolled my eyes and I thought, that'll take me about 5 seconds. And then I had egg all over my face because I couldn't sleep for a month. I knew with all of this research that people were paying for themselves in top tier universities, they were on to something, and that these were foundational questions.
So good.
Hope that helps.
That's so good. I love that so much. And the thing is that we have to keep in mind that what we know and what we have at our hands on, they just don't know about yet. So I think it was really vital that you said, we don't give up on people. We're going to follow up until their objections are resolved, right? And when I think about that, Don D didn't say yes the first time Blue called him. He took a little bit of, getting his objections taken care of and listened to. But think about this, guys. Look at this screen right now. And then there's the people that are in the team Facebook page and all of the other people that are part of Team Freedom Reigns. If Dondi had not said yes, what stories would not have had the opportunity to happen? Right? What lives would not have been changed? And it was all because Blue was willing to stay as long as it took to help resolve and listen, first of all, and then help them resolve their concerns, right? So just know that you are not alone. You don't have to know the answers. There is someone that can support you and help you in getting the concerns taken care of.
Yeah, to Marcy's great point is Blue didn't have a medical background other than he was an EMT on the fire department, but he didn't use that approach with me. He shared this amazing information. And to Dr. Gloria's point, I had fear that if what he's saying is true and I embrace this, I could lose my license because of it, because that happens routinely here in Arizona. And what happens routinely when healthcare providers get involved in network marketing for the wrong reasons, when they don't have products that are scientifically backed. And the other is I could ruin my reputation in my town. And I wasn't willing to give up my license or ruin my reputation. But he had posture that I didn't have. I had a desire to be a dad to my kids with no ability to do so. And he had a strong posture because he'd been successful in network marketing before. So no matter how big my objections were, Blue's posture was bigger. And ultimately in the end, yes, I hung up on him the first time he called. And so he kept going, and I prayed about needing something to allow me to be a dad. And this just happened to be what the answer to prayer, unlike what I was definitely not expecting to be a network marketer. Many of you guys have heard the story. I had no soliciting signs on the door of my practice that mentioned 2 network marketing companies by name. I didn't want anything to do with it until God answered my prayer in a very unconventional manner by a guy 2 hours south of me, a firefighter, calling me. And I am eternally grateful that he did.
Yeah. So Gloria, we just want to thank you so very much for being our guest here and helping us to remember that objections really are just someone else's fears. That if we will just be human and kind and caring and asking the right questions and being willing to stay in the game long enough, that we'll be able to help others overcome their fears, because it's not our fears. We're here to help them with theirs. So we just need to shift our mindset in it, right? So that we can help others by listening through their objections. But Gloria, thank you so very much. You are amazing. Thank you for being the perfect presenter for this amazing skill that we all need to just work on a little bit more and being patient with ourselves in doing so.
Wonderful. I've really enjoyed being with all of you tonight. Love you guys. Look forward to seeing you. Hopefully some of you at Vision Summit, if not along the way. Take care.
Thank you so much,
Dr. Gloria.
God bless
Thanks, everybody.
everybody.